Hello guys, welcome to the movie recap review. Happy watching.
Step on the side of the tank.
There is a terrible darkness here.
In the opening scene, Morris, a middle-aged businessman, is working late in his dimly lit office. He pauses, grimacing as a sharp pain flares in his chest. He heads to the water cooler, but the pain intensifies. Clutching his chest, he collapses to the floor, gasping for air. Moments later, his body lies still. He has suffered a fatal heart attack. The narrative shifts to Mr. Lockhart, a driven and aloof corporate executive, riding a train to work. Immersed in his own world, Lockhart's brusque demeanor makes it clear that he prioritizes ambition over courtesy. Upon arriving at the office, he is called into a meeting with the company's higher-ups, Hank Green, Hollis, and Wilson. They discuss a troubling situation involving the company's CEO, Roland Pembroke. Pembroke taken a 2-week retreat to a spa in the Swiss Alps, but has failed to return. Instead, he sent an erratic letter suggesting he has experienced some kind of mental breakdown. As the meeting progresses, Green confronts Lockhart with a document he had falsified, now under investigation by the SEC. Lockhart is ordered to retrieve Pembroke from the spa, or he will face severe legal and professional consequences. In a flashback, we see a more vulnerable side of Lockhart. He visits his elderly mother at a retirement home, where she clings to a delicate music box with a spinning ballerina. She remarks that the ballerina is dreaming, but unaware she is in a dream. Soon after this visit, Lockhart's mother passes away and is cremated. He keeps the music box as a memento. Lockhart's journey takes him to Switzerland, where he hires a taxi driver named Enrico to take him up the winding roads to the remote spa. As they ascend the hill, a villager suddenly hurls a drink at the car, startling Lockhart. Enrico explains the tension between the villagers and the spa's residents. He recounts a dark legend. Long ago, a baron sought to preserve his noble bloodline by marrying his own sister. When she turned out to be infertile, the baron began conducting horrifying experiments on the villagers. This cruelty sparked a revolt, leading to the baron's sister being burned alive. Lockhart arrives at the secluded spa, but he's informed that visiting hours have ended. Undeterred, Lockhart spoke to the doctor, who informed him that Pembroke would be available the next morning after his scheduled treatment. Frustrated, Lockhart leaves the spa and instructs Enrico to take him to a hotel so he can make a phone call, as the hilltop offers no cell service. As Lockhart and Enrico head to the hotel, a deer bolts out of the woods. Enrico swerves, but the deer crashes through the windshield, sending the car careening into a ditch. Lockhart awakens 3 days later, groggy and disoriented, in a bright, sterile room at the spa. Dr. Heinrich Vollmer, the spa's enigmatic director, informs him that he suffered a broken leg in the accident. Vollmer assures him that the company has been notified of the incident and suggests that Lockhart take advantage of the spa's renowned treatments while recovering. Though skeptical, Lockhart agrees to stay. Settling into his room, Lockhart begins to sense that something is off, as he spots a parasitic creature writhing in the liquid. As he explores the spa, he ventures into the bathhouse, where he finds Pembroke leisurely swimming in the serene, dimly lit pool. Lockhart approaches him, urging him to return home and address the concerns raised by the board. Pembroke, however, seems entirely at ease, dismissing the idea with a calm but resolute disinterest in leaving. Lockhart meets 3 patients: Frank Hill, Ron Nair, and Victoria Watkins. All 3 are exuberant about their treatments, with Watkins engrossed in her favorite pastime of solving crossword puzzles. Despite their cheerfulness, their overly content demeanor feels unsettling. Lockhart also encounters Hannah, a mysterious and ethereal young woman who refers to herself as a special case. She, along with many other patients and staff members, regularly takes vitamin droplets from a distinctive blue bottle under Vollmer's guidance. Vollmer insists Lockhart try one of the spa's signature treatments. Reluctantly, Lockhart agrees and is placed inside a sensory deprivation tank filled with water. At first, the experience is peaceful, but it quickly turns into a nightmare. The water begins to churn, and eels materialize, slithering toward him in the confined space. Panicking, Lockhart struggles as his breathing tube is ripped away by one of the creatures. He flails, desperate for air, until he succumbed to the water. The narrative shifts to another flashback. A young Lockhart sits in the passenger seat of a car, rain streaming down the windows as his father drives across a bridge. The radio crackles with grim news of financial collapse. Stocks have plummeted, jobs have vanished. Without a word, his father pulls the car over, steps out into the rain, and walks to the edge of the bridge. Until he manages to open the tank. Gasping for breath, Lockhart realizes the spa's serene facade hides something far more sinister. Watkins recounts the legend of the Baron to Lockhart after he brings it up. She explains that the spa was constructed on the ruins of the Baron's castle, which was burned down by the villagers during their revolt. The horrific tale doesn't end there. Watkins reveals that the villagers cut the unborn baby from the Baron's sister's womb and threw it into the aquifer. Miraculously, the baby survived. As she speaks, Watkins trails off cryptically. She doesn't know. She doesn't know. Lockhart later offers Hannah his treasured ballerina figurine in exchange for borrowing her bicycle for a ride into town. They set off together, eventually stopping at a local tavern. While Lockhart orders beers for both of them, he runs into Enrico, who survived the car crash. Enrico shares that the spa compensated him handsomely with money and a new car. While exploring the area, Lockhart stumbles upon a barn where he encounters a mute child drawing an image of the castle fire. The child's father, Pieter, approaches Lockhart, who seizes the opportunity to ask about the spa's history. Pieter, evasive and grim, leads Lockhart to a dying cow. In a shocking display, he slices open the animal's stomach, spilling a stillborn calf and several writhing eels onto the ground. The grotesque sight unsettles Lockhart. Meanwhile, Hannah listens to music and begins dancing alone, capturing the attention of the other patrons. Lockhart heads back to the tavern to get in touch with Green. When he mentions Volmer's earlier call about the accident, Green is perplexed. He had heard nothing about it until now. Furious, Green orders Lockhart to bring Pembroke back to New York within 24 hours. Inside, he notices a punk dancing uncomfortably close to Hannah. Protective, Lockhart intervenes, but the man attacks him. Before the situation escalates further, Volmer arrives unexpectedly to retrieve both Lockhart and Hannah, diffusing the tension. Back at the spa, Lockhart tries to collect himself. He feels a disturbing sensation in his mouth. One of his teeth has come loose. Struggling with the pain, he pries it out himself and takes it to a staff member, who casually drops it into a container of water. Uneasy but determined, Lockhart begins to search for answers. He sneaks through restricted wings of the spa, uncovering a horrifying truth. In one room, he finds several patients, including Pembroke, suspended inside water tanks, their bodies lifeless and preserved. As Lockhart attempts to return to his room, he is intercepted by the caretaker, Volmer, and another staff member. Mentioning his issue with his tooth, Lockhart is escorted to a treatment room. Before he can resist, he is forcibly strapped to a chair. The dental specialist looms over him, wielding a drill, and with merciless precision, drives it through Lockhart's front tooth, leaving him writhing in agony. Lockhart manages to escape the spa and makes his way into town. He finds a police officer and describes what he has uncovered, including the water tanks and Pembroke's condition. While waiting for the officer to return, Lockhart noticed a blue bottle on the officer's shelf, realizing that he, too, was under Volmer's influence. Volmer and one of his staff arrive to retrieve Lockhart. To Lockhart's shock, Pembroke suddenly appears alive and seemingly healthy, backing Volmer's claims. Pembroke accuses Lockhart of threatening him, insisting that Lockhart intended to forcefully take him back to New York. With no evidence to support his story, Lockhart is left with no choice but to return to the spa under Volmer's watchful eye. Following more treatments, Lockhart begins to lose his grip on reality. He starts to think and act like Pembroke, convinced he is unwell and must remain for the cure. While drafting a note to his employers, he briefly regains clarity, silently reflecting, "No man can unsee the truth." Lockhart, seeking answers, smashes a glass in his room and uses a shard to cut through his cast, discovering that his leg was never broken. Lockhart hurries to the old church in search of the truth. Inside, he discovers a hidden lab filled with unsettling experiments and a photograph of a woman. In another hidden area, he discovers an underground pool where corpses are discarded and fed to eels. Among the bodies, he recognizes Mrs. Watkins, who had seemed so lively just hours earlier. Meanwhile, Hannah swims in the spa's pool and experiences her first period. The water around her begins to ripple unnaturally as eels emerge, circling her in a perfect formation. Lockhart bolts out in search of Hannah. She, still panicked from her experience in the pool, lashes out and strikes him in the face as he tries to comfort her. Frightened, Hannah runs to Volmer, interrupting a formal dinner attended by the staff and patients. Lockhart bursts into the room, desperately accusing Volmer of being a fraud and exposing the truth about the water, which he claims is the source of everyone's illness. He warns them about the mysterious treatments, revealing that the water is causing their teeth to fall out. For a brief moment, it seems the patients are listening, standing from their seats, as if in agreement. However, to Lockhart's horror, they begin approaching him en masse, murmuring that they are unwell and need the cure. The crowd closes in until he collapses under their suffocating presence. Lockhart awakens in a grim chamber, restrained and unable to move. Volmer looms over him, calmly explaining the next stage of his treatment. A tube is forced down Lockhart's throat, and eel-infused liquid is pumped into his body. The eels filter out what Volmer refers to as vitamins, a process designed to transform Lockhart just like the others. In the aftermath, Lockhart's teeth are repaired, and he appears to fall into the same delusional state as the other patients, convinced he is unwell and utterly dependent on the spa. That night, Volmer hosts an extravagant party to celebrate his wedding to Hannah. The atmosphere is celebratory. Alone in his room, Lockhart begins to piece together the truth. He recalls Watkins's cryptic warnings about the Baron and examines an old portrait he finds in the spa. The image, taken long after the fire, depicts a man with his face wrapped in bandages. Intrigued, Lockhart smashes the frame. Hidden within the image, he notices the bandaged man holding hands with a young girl, Hannah. The realization sends chills down his spine as the pieces of the dark mystery start to fall into place. Volmer leads Hannah into a secluded room near the transfusion wing, where he reveals a portrait of his sister, Hannah's mother. He explains their shared lineage, his tone laced with twisted pride. Hannah is tied to a bed, and Volmer prepares to carry out his sinister intentions, aiming to continue his obsession with preserving their pure bloodline. Lockhart then finds Volmer just in time to intervene and save Hannah. Volmer tears off his own face, exposing the grotesque visage hidden beneath. The vitamins he has been administering, derived from the eels and the aquifer, have kept both him and Hannah alive for more than a century. Lockhart douses the area with fuel and ignites it, setting Volmer ablaze. In his panic, Volmer stumbles into the curtains, which catch fire and spread the flames throughout the castle. As Lockhart works to free Hannah, Volmer, still burning, attacks once more. The fight drags them both near the eel pool, where Volmer gains the upper hand and prepares to kill Lockhart. Hannah grabs a shovel and swings it down on Volmer's head with all her strength. The impact sends him reeling backward into the eel-infested pool. The eels swarm him, pulling him under and devouring him as the flames consume the spa. Lockhart and Hannah escape the burning castle as patients and staff flee in chaos. The two take Hannah's bike and ride away into the night. On a deserted road, their bike crashes into a car, and Green, Hollis, and Wilson step out. They demand answers, asking about Pembroke and ordering Lockhart to get in the car. Lockhart calmly responds that Pembroke is gone. When they repeat their demand, Lockhart refuses. Hollis, confused, asks what's wrong with him. Lockhart looks at them with a calm yet unsettling confidence, replying, "I'm feeling much better." As he and Hannah pedal away into the darkness, a sinister grin spreads across Lockhart's face, leaving a haunting sense of ambiguity about what he has become.
And that's the end of the story. I hope you liked it. Comment down below what movies do you like us to recap next. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.